Hi there, Facebook. Whew, what a finish. Cam versus Drew Brees. I'll talk about all that in just a moment, all the other wild card games, the matchups next weekend. And I got to get some early thoughts off my chest about LAVAR Ball versus Luke Walton. But first up, a quick cameo from the daughter of my wife and I, Ernestine, Hazel, our little Maltese. We don't have any kids. This is our first kid. We do our best with Hazel, but she's spoiled rotten, as you could probably guess. And here she is now for her cameo on Facebook. Hi, thank you. She's got to make sure my nose is clean. Hi, Hazel. Hi, Hazel. She's through her health scare. She's looking a little healthier. Her spirits stayed high through the whole crises. How you doing? Not feeling like a star? Not ready for a close-up. Mom says she's hungry and would prefer to eat her dinner. So she's out. I'm back. I'm watching the end of the Fox telecast. Cam Jordan. I got to tell you, after my Dallas Cowboys fell out of the playoffs, still haven't gotten over the play calls down at the goal line. No Zeke, no Zeke, no Zeke, no Zeke, no points. I got to pick somebody, so I picked the Saints to win as wide open an NFC as I can ever remember in all my years covering the NFC and the NFL, dating back to the days that right here in Los Angeles, I covered the Los Angeles Rams in their first incarnation here for the Los Angeles Times. So I've been doing NFL. God, I even covered the first Cowboy-Pittsburgh Super Bowl, which was Super Bowl 10 for the Miami Herald. That's how far back I go. And I just can't remember a more wide-open NFC. It's like draw a name out of the hat, and you got a shot. And my name that I drew out of the hat was the New Orleans Saints, just because they do have Drew Brees. They do have what I think will be the offensive rookie of the year in Kamara and the defensive rookie of the year in Marshawn Lattimore. And the defense seemed to be playing hot and fast. And the offense, as Drew Brees told us on Undisputed, you can watch tomorrow, 9:30 to noon Eastern time on Fox Sports 1. But he told us at last year's Super Bowl in Houston, Drew Brees says, we got to balance it up. We got to get back to 2009 when obviously they won the Super Bowl over Peyton Manning. And the idea was to at least to get maybe to 45, 55 run to pass, maybe even closer as they did in 2009 to 50-50 run to pass. And they've done a pretty good job of that. This year is more 45 to 55, but Kamara is he's a game changer. He's a difference maker. He goes about 5'11", 215, but he has extraordinary acceleration. He's just got that thing, that make you miss thing. He just sort of slides and glides through holes, and you can't get a hold of him, and he turns to you, and he's gone. And he did nothing today. The Carolina Panthers had the number of the New Orleans Saints. The Saints couldn't run the football. They totaled 41 yards rushing with Kamara and Ingram. And I got to tell you, in all honesty, I was just shocked by what I saw. I thought they would win fairly easily today over a team they had won fairly easily over twice in the regular season. And don't tell me, oh, it's so hard to beat a team 3 times. It's not that hard. The stats since going back to 2000, the team that had swept the regular season 2 games is 11-5 in the postseason against the team they beat twice. So now it went to 12-5. But the point is, it was so unimpressive of a win that I didn't see the Saints I thought I was going to see, and I definitely saw the Cam I feared I would see. I'm not sure Cam has played better all year. I know he had the big road wins, especially the one at Brady, 36-33, but this was a Cam special, and I thought Greg Olsen would still struggle. As they pointed out on the Fox telecast, he has to wear one shoe that's a 15 and one size 16. He's got a screw in his foot. Last week he just didn't look right at all when they lost at Atlanta. And all of a sudden he looked right today. Funch is playing with a banged up shoulder. It looks like he'll need surgery. So it's like Cam or bust. And then all of a sudden he's got this little receiver open and that little receiver open. And I thought Cam was marvelous, sensational, astonishing. He was deadly accurate. Obviously, there was the early touchdown pass. It was just a frozen rope. They got dropped in the back of the end zone, and obviously Graham Gano missed the early field goal. He made up for it with a 58-yarder. But still, I just couldn't believe that Kamara could not convert on the off-tackle play that they ran to him on 3rd and 2 that would have iced the game and the clock. And so, am I really still picking the New Orleans Saints to go to Minnesota and beat that defense and that hot quarterback in Case Keenum? I know Shannon Sharp on Undisputed keeps saying he's a backup. He's not really a backup. He started a whole bunch of football games for the Texans and the Vikings now. And his coordinator, Pat Shurmur, loves him so much, believes him so much that there was a report on ESPN.com that Shurmur, as he interviews for head coaching jobs, is suggesting that he would like to bring Case Keenum with him to whatever job would be open that would obviously need a quarterback. In case Keenum's going to be a free agent, he's going to command a lot of money, especially given how he's going to play this next weekend against the Saints. But Drew Brees played very well today, extremely accurate, but in the end, I don't know. If it's just that old Saints fling offense, Vikings will eat that alive. I'm sorry, I just don't. I've lost a whole lot of faith. I'll save my pick for a little later in the week, but I don't know. It looks like the Vikings would have a pretty good edge. The Falcons are now favored to win at the Eagles. I had the Falcons beating the Rams last night. I just don't like the way the Rams played at home. They didn't do anything at home. They got a home field disadvantage. Again, I covered the Rams in that stadium back in the 1970s, and its history is repeating itself because they had a bad home field advantage then. It's the LA crowd. It's the LA mentality. There's too much to do here. I'm in West Los Angeles in Century City, about a mile from the Fox studios, where tomorrow morning, 6:30 Pacific time, 9:30 Eastern, we will do Undisputed. But I know the Coliseum. I know there's been a lot more enthusiasm this year just because it's all new. But a lot of the old Ram fans have gone back to support the Rams, and they're just not like Eagle fans or Giants fans or those hardcore Northeastern fans who are going to support and scream for their team no matter what. These fans in LA, they go to be entertained. That's the whole idea here, is it's the capital of entertainment. So you entertain us. You get us going. We don't get you going. You show us first, and then we'll stand up and scream. But you got to do something first. And right away last night, Atlanta took control of the game. They did have one big break. I thought Atlanta got late. I don't know. The refereeing in this league is just terrible. They don't even know the rules. They didn't even know the 10-second runoff tonight. Tony Correnti had to be told via New York through the alternate officials, had to run on the field and wave. No, you got to run off 10 seconds after the intentional grounding. It's just kind of nightmarish to watch these games because there are so many things they get wrong. So Deion Jones got away with just bear hugging Sammy Watkins on that last 4th down play. And do I think the Rams would have won the game? I do not. Again, I picked them, so maybe I'm not objective. But the point is, it was a pretty big play, a pretty important play in the game, and they just got away with near murder. I mean, you just can't let somebody bear hug and hold on. Now, again, the irony was that Sammy Watkins actually broke free of the bear hug, and then Deion Jones actually came across the throw and defended it cleanly. But still, don't love that. And that brings me to the earlier game yesterday. I don't know what was going on. I don't know what Jeff Triplett, who now reports that that was his last game ever, so he's going to get off the hook because he's retiring. But I don't know how you can call forward progress in the first half on that Mariota fumble. I'm going to say it again. I'm not a big Mariota fan. I love his nature. He's a great kid. He'll fight and battle, scratch and claw. He's a gamer. I just don't like him as a quarterback. And he fumbled, and they called forward progress stopped. Derek Johnson just annihilated him. And again, that whole game should have been out of control by halftime. It was 21-3. And then there was another one on the 2-point conversion later where Mariota just fumbled, and they called forward progress again. His progress was stopped, like trying to save the quarterback. Baloney. And the safety for Kansas City scoops it and scores with it, so there's going to be the 2 points are going to go the other way. But I don't know. I don't know how you justify that one. And they interviewed Triplett after the game, and he said, forward progress in both cases. Well, you blew it. You missed those 2 calls. Mike Pereira of Fox tweeted that basically he was ashamed of those calls after the game and that the refs were off to a bad start in the playoff run. Thank you very much for that. Mike Pereira, who's former director of officiating for the National Football League. So the point of the Kansas City game was, I'm not a big Andy Reid fan either. You should be able to close a 21-3 lead. But come on. It boiled down to Travis Kelce got rocked by a helmet-to-helmet shot that knocked him out of the game. He was concussed, and that was late in the first half. And I'm pretty sure with Travis Kelce, who to me is even better than Gronkowski now because he can run after catch better than Gronk can. He's actually elusive. He's actually got some wide receiver in him. I mean, the man can dance. You got to give him that. So he is extremely flexible, and he's not quite as big as Gronk, but he is close. So he is an incredible weapon for Alex Smith. And then, yet, in the second half with no Kelce, I don't know why you don't try to establish some run with Kareem Hunt. He got next to nothing. It's just classic Andy Reid. He went Sean Payton. They're going to throw the football. They're not going to run the football. When in doubt, they're going to throw it. And tonight, it was all Sean Payton and Drew Brees. They're just going to throw it and throw it and throw it and hope they can hang on. They're not going to be able to kill the clock with the run game because they just don't trust it. It's not their nature. It's not who they are. Which brings me to the first game today. And the most fascinating matchup of next weekend is Jacksonville can run it. I thought they could run it with Leonard Fournette. Not the biggest fan of Fournette. I had him winning the Heisman a year ago, but after Alabama did the 2 numbers on him, I don't know if he's that guy. And today he was not that guy. He ran, 21 times for 59 yards. And Blake Bortles threw for 87 yards. And somehow Jacksonville won a home playoff game and gets to go back to Pittsburgh where it won 30-9 on October the 8th. 30-9. In that game, Fournette ran wild. I can't remember off the top of my head the exact number. What was it, like 148 or whatever yards? Just ran wild. But who threw wild was Ben Roethlisberger because he threw 5 interceptions, 2 pick sixes, and that game got way out of hand pretty quickly in the second half. It just went crazy. It was close at halftime, but then it just went berserk. And this Jacksonville team 2 weeks before, if you remember in London, and I know the Ravens were completely discombobulated over the protest issue internally, to protest or not. Before that game in London, there was even another layer because what are you going to do for the British national anthem? How are you going to handle that one? And they were, according to R. Ray Lewis on Undisputed, just turned inside out before the game with all minds on the protest instead of on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who proceeded to win, 44 to, I've got it over there, I forget, 44-7 or something. It was just a complete annihilation. And Blake Bortles played great in that game, and he played pretty well at Pittsburgh. So the point is that Ben Roethlisberger, I thought, made a pretty tactical error. He was doing it for himself last week, talking for himself instead of his football team. Ben Roethlisberger just flat out said last week, and I pushed to do it on Undisputed, and we had some other breaking stories. We didn't get to it on the air. But he just flat out said, I want Jacksonville, not Buffalo, not like whichever team wins we'll be ready for. doing the politically correct comment. No, he wants Jacksonville because he threw 5 picks against Jacksonville, and he wants to show that he's not a 5-interception quarterback in a playoff game. Well, that's all well and good, but now you've laid it on the table against that defense, and it is really, really big-time good. Miles Jack was dominating. They have some freak athletes on that defense, starting with Calais Campbell and Jalen Ramsey and Miles Jack, and I could go on and on. They're just freakishly good. My man Barry Church from my Dallas Cowboys, he's a good guy, and he's been around. I'm not saying he's a freakish athlete, but he's a smart safety who knows how to play, and he's a good fit for their defense. So they're going back with a lot of confidence to a place that they won handily in. And it's just hard. It's hard to run against them. I think Le'Veon's going to have a hard time. And it gets to be pretty hard to throw against them because they are Saxonville. They come from everywhere. They come off the edges. They got players everywhere on defense. I'm pretty sure, I know they're ranked 2-2-2 in a lot of categories, but I just think it's the best defense I saw all year in pro football. And I'm not sure Tom Brady and company want to see them, but they just might have to see them. I think they would prefer to see the Steelers over the Jacksonville Jaguars, who would come in with nothing to lose and a defense that would be hard for Tom Brady to pick to pieces. It would just be difficult. I don't think the Patriots could run on them. I don't think Pittsburgh can run on them. I'm going to save my pick on this one until Friday, but I got to tell you, I'm leaning toward what I saw today, Jacksonville's defense. But how can I make a case for Blake Bortles? Because you got to win with your defense. So what happened today? Blake Bortles ran for 88 yards. He ran for like 1 or 2 more yards than he threw for. Just impossible. And I know CBS had the graphic that over the last, whatever it is, 10 years or whatever, that maybe it's longer than that because Michael Vick was up there, but that Blake Bortles is 4th on the list. Maybe it's all time of, I'm sorry, because they had Bobby Douglas. So it's not 10 years, it's all time. All-time quarterbacks, yards per carry, that Blake Bortles is 4th on the list. It's Michael Vick, Bobby Douglas, Randall Cunningham, and then 4th on the list is Blake Bortles, who ran for, he had 10 for 88 today, it was what it was, because he had 8.8 yards per carry. Well, I didn't see that coming in the second half, and I gave Buffalo a good shot of pulling off the upset. I'm a Tyrod fan. He's not the most physically gifted, biggest quarterback. He's not Cam Newton, but he throws it pretty well, and he runs it really well, and he usually makes very smart decisions and does the most sort of with the least. And I thought just because he had such an edge over Blake Bortles, and their defense is pretty good, Buffalo's, I gave him a shot at what would clearly be an upset. But Blake Bortles made, 4 big runs out of the pocket, and they're not escape runs because he's not going to make anybody miss. Remember, he goes 6'5", 240, so he's Cam-esque. He's not quite as thick as Cam, but 6'5", 240, and he can run in a straight line. He runs pretty well. I don't know what his 40 was. I'd have to look it up at the combine, but it looks like he could run, 4'8", 4'9"-ish. He's a good athlete and saved the day today with those runs, and then he made one nice throw down at the goal line, and that was the ball game, 10-3. So I'm going to give them a shot. A good shot winning at Pittsburgh. I don't think Tennessee has any shot winning at Tom Brady because I'm just not a Mariota guy. And again, he got away 2 fumbles, he threw an interception, and he made some big plays. He made lots. Obviously, one pass, that could have been another interception down on the goal line. It gets batted right back to him, and he caught it and scored with it because he's a good athlete. Okay, and he made one just gunshot throw to Eric Decker, who's just been a disaster dropping balls this year. Dropped a big one in that game. And yet, that was a great throw. And every once in a while, Mariota will sort of stun you, and you'll say, oh, there it is. There's that guy who was the second pick after Jameis was number 1, obviously. I just don't love him. He'll make an occasional big run because he can fly, man. He is really fast. and he made a big late block in the game, which he is highly capable of doing because he's a gamer, man. He'll fight you. I just don't love him as a quarterback. And Tennessee has a good hard-nosed defense, and that big joker of theirs can run that football, that big bam, bam, bama Heisman Trophy winner that they have. We're going to talk about the game tomorrow. You know what? Just a quick thought. I know Shannon Sharp, my debate partner on Undisputed, is a huge Nick Saban fan. How lucky is Nick Saban that he dodged the quote-unquote bullets that get thrown by Baker Mayfield? I know Baker Mayfield wasn't very good in the second half against Georgia, but he would have been really good against St. Nick or Ain't Nick's defense because it gets torched a lot on big stages by passers who can move a little bit and create opportunities, and Baker Mayfield can run around. He's not Johnny Manziel mobility-wise, but he's got a much bigger, better arm than Johnny Manziel. That would have been the matchup. That's what everybody, I think, wanted to see. I know this is going to feel a little bit like a private party, an all-SEC final, Georgia, Alabama. I will root for Georgia just because they knocked my Oklahoma Sooners out. I was born and raised a Sooner fan. But this is on a silver platter, like a championship silver platter for Nick Saban. Georgia's just a flat-out meat and potatoes running game with two really good backs. And you know what Alabama will do for that? They'll have both of them for dinner or for late-night snacks. I mean, come on. Do you really think Georgia's going to run on Alabama the way it did on my Sooners? No, it will not. And so it boils down to a true freshman from trying to, throws parties on the Alabama defense. He's not going to be able to, and they're going to be all over him, and they'll have a hard time, so it'll be low scoring because Georgia's got a legitimately solid, good defense. And that number 3 for them, he's going to be a pro football player. He is really good. But again, Jalen Hurts will make a few plays, and it'll be low scoring. It'll be like 17-13 or something like that, 17-10, and it's too easy for Alabama. Way to go. Congratulations, St. Nick. Now to my favorite topic, and one that we will be tearing all apart tomorrow, that will transcend both the NFL wildcard games, the NFL divisional matchups, and the national championship college game, is LAVAR Ball is at it again. So I got to get this off my chest, my early knee-jerk thoughts on this, although I have been thinking about it all day. I'm going to say this one more time. I admire LAVAR Ball because he's a smart guy and because he loves his sons to a fault. And I'll say it one more time. I didn't have a father around very much, and when he was a really bad guy. Just an evil guy. Don't get me started on it. Me and my brother, who's a pretty successful chef, and my little sister, we had it rough with my father. Trust me, it was hellish. And so I look at LAVAR, and I look at all the fathers, all my years covering sports, who weren't there for their sons, the single-parent mom home. I basically came from that myself. Well, so here's a LAVAR is he not engaged in his son's lives? Well, obviously it's become to a fault. And I love his number one son because I just like him. He's got a gift that LAVAR did not teach him. Lonzo Ball can pass the basketball, in a once-a-generation level where you just get born with it. LAVAR didn't teach or coach that. LAVAR coached Lonzo all the way up, but man, Lonzo's got the gift. And he also has extremely high character, and he says and does all the right things, and he is unselfish to a fault. So the number one son is the flip side of LAVAR, but the number one son put LAVAR on the map because if he didn't have the number 2 pick in the draft, nobody would care who LAVAR Ball was or anything that he said. So he's established big baller brand, obviously, for all 3 sons, but now we see a repeat pattern where LAVAR has become the ultimate all-time out-of-control, out-of-bounds stage father. He has continued to blame the coach for the problems of all 3 sons. It's the coach at Chino Hills, the new coach, I'm yanking my son out of there. We're taking our ball, so to speak, and going home. And then Steve Alford, he didn't like the way he punished his son for shoplifting on a big trip to China with 2 other kids. And he thinks that it was overly harsh punishment. And so he yanks that kid out of UCLA, and both those kids are going to Lithuania to play. And they've established in Lithuania the Big Baller Challenge, just so those kids, I assume LAVAR is going to pay for it somehow, but just so they have some competition, because there's extreme competition there. They're the 2 leagues, obviously the Lithuanian leagues, which is better than our college basketball. Then there's the Baltic League, which is probably a little less than our college basketball and is more on par with extremely good high school AAU talent. Okay? So now they've got the LAVAR Ball Classic going on, just so his kids get to play some, because I'm not sure they're good enough yet. I like the young one. I just see the YouTube highlights, but LaAngelo does not look like he's much of a player. He needed to stay at UCLA for 4 years probably to earn any shot at the NBA. The young one's got talent and he's got size. He's about 6'5" already, and he's got handle, and he can shoot it from range, and yet he's thin, and he's got to grow into his, as LAVAR says, his ball body, and one day he will, but he's still got a shot, but he needs competition. It's too bad he couldn't have gone to UCLA and played for 1 year, continued to play at the AAU level, or continue to play high school basketball at Chino Hills and play in the state tournament and show us what you got, kid. But now the third coach is under fire, and that is the coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, Luke Walton. And he's already, LAVAR criticized Luke for the way he's yanked Lonzo in some fourth quarters, and I don't love it either. And so here's the reason LAVAR mixes your emotions is a lot of what he says has truth to it. I watch every Laker game. I got to tell you, I don't love the way Luke has coached this roster. And I don't think LAVAR made a couple of really strong, good points. This team doesn't seem to like each other. I don't see a lot of high fives. I don't see a lot of rooting on the bench. I don't feel a togetherness. Watch a Spurs game, and I'm a Spurs fan, but they just love each other. They play for each other. They're all unselfish. They cheer like crazy for each other. And if Manu Ginobili at age 40 dunks, they just go crazy on the bench. And you can just feel how much they actually love playing basketball together. And I don't get that spirit that Luke is instilling in this team. Okay, it's young, but it's way better than its record. And for the record, this Laker team took Golden State to overtime twice and then went to Houston and won convincingly at Houston. So you can see it's there, but LAVAR just has gone completely over the edge. He's made it so hard on his number one son by saying he's already better than Steph Curry and basically calling out established star point guard after point guard. They're going to have trouble with my son. No, they're not. Your son is 19. I guess he just turned 20 years of age. And he doesn't have his ball body. He doesn't have his man body yet. And plus, the most frustrating part of Lonzo's game is he just doesn't have a motor yet. I don't know if he'll get it. I know that's just the way he plays. Cool, calm, collected. But, man, he's just been disengaged. Maybe it's because he doesn't love Luke. I don't know. But I hate it that LAVAR keeps giving every kid the excuse, it's the coach's fault. Let's go elsewhere. Next, are we going to hear that LAVAR is going to yank Lonzo off the Lakers and take him to Lithuania and they're going to play 3-on-5? I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do. Or is he going to, in our FS1 3-on-3 Ice Cube competition that we had last year, we're going to do it again next year with all the ex-NBA stars. Is that where they're headed? Are the balls going to just be part of the big 3-on-3? They're not going to even participate in the NBA because Lonzo doesn't, or LAVAR doesn't like the way Lonzo or the others have been coached. It's insane and it's out of control and it's so unfair to the number one son. He had to say today, that's just my father. Don't listen to him. That's wrong. We're fine. Luke Walton had to say, we're fine. Jeannie Buss has tweeted even as late as New Year's Eve. she's all in on Luke Walton. I don't know what Magic thinks. We've had him on Undisputed. I have not personally asked him lately about what job he thinks Luke Walton is doing. It's just too early. It's a young team with a very young coach and a very young point guard who hasn't grown up yet, grown into his body, grown into his game. He's just figuring it out. It's hard. It's hardest for that position to translate into the NBA because there's cerebral parts to it. There's understanding how to work the star point guard guarding you and how to get your teammates involved, what their strengths and weaknesses are. It's just going to take time. We just turned into January. So LAVAR has to leave it be, and yet he's trying to make excuses for his son, obviously, who's not performed quite up to the level that a lot of people expected, though he's had moments of absolute brilliance, and he's starting to make his threes now after a horrendous start, and LAVAR is having to already blame the coach, saying he needs to go. We just turned into January, and Luke Walton needs to go. It makes it so hard on Luke because some of the players probably like Luke Walton, and so they're looking side-eyed at Lonzo like, can't you keep your father in check? Can't you do anything about this? And obviously, LAVAR's even reached for criticizing some of the Lakers. He criticized Julius Randle for his play down the stretch of a game that he thought Lonzo should have closed and won. It's just outrageous how hard the degree of difficulty on Lonzo Ball is the highest I've ever seen on any rookie in any sport in my career. Any sport. No rookie has come in with this big a target on his back, and it only gets bigger because these quotes, now Rick Carlisle is firing back at ESPN saying ESPN should not run the quotes of some loudmouth blowhard. Yeah, they should. LAVAR Ball has talked his way into being an international basketball celebrity. They're like the Beatles going to Lithuania. It's outrageous. He is the biggest rock star. He's a bigger star than Lonzo. And I guess that's what LAVAR wanted all along. I know LAVAR well enough to tell you, I don't think that's what he foresaw. But as it started happening, he started to love it. And he was a pretty good basketball player. He was a better football player. And he was on the practice squads of the Jets and the Carolina Panthers. So he's a good athlete. But he has nothing to show for it except those sons. And he thinks his sons hung the sun and the moon. And I don't blame that because I got friends who think their kids are just the greatest things ever. And I can't say a word or I'll offend them. You just have to suck it up and swallow it and go on. But LAVAR's on the international stage now. And I don't blame ESPN for printing his quotes. He's the father of the number 2 pick in the draft who's talked his way into becoming an international impresario of a businessman. He's got his own sneaker brand. It's outrageous how great the achievements are of LAVAR Ball so far, because 8 months ago, let's go 6 months ago, I barely knew who LAVAR was. I knew who the kids were, but I wasn't that aware of the father. And I don't think you were either. And now everybody, he's a household name, not only in America, but in China and Lithuania. He's an international celebrity. And so you have to quote him, but he's going to, if he's not careful, he's going to wreck the career of his number 1 son. He's going to make it so hard on him. Everybody comes out night after night and tries to put it on the son to put it on the father. It's just so out of bounds. It's so wrong to that poor good kid who is Lonzo Ball. How can he operate? Think of the pressure on him now that his father is called for the coach's job by we just gone, what? When did it start? October, November, December. So it's like, I don't know, 2.5 months of basketball. And we still got January, February, March, and April to go. We got 4 months left, and he's already called for the coach's job. How can Lonzo live with that? Well, he says he's been living with it his whole life, but not at this level, in this spotlight, in this city. I know he grew up in Chino Hills, but this is the Los Angeles Lakers, and now all eyes are on these Laker games because they're rooting against Lonzo Ball because they're ultimately rooting against LAVAR Ball. So I just look, and again, it mixes my emotions because he's probably right in the big picture. I don't know if Luke Walton's the answer for this team. Magic, if you put him on a lie detector, would probably tell you that. But you just can't say it publicly. You could tell Magic privately. You could ask Magic to put in a good word for the kid and try to handle his minutes a little differently. He was mad about last night in, where was it, Charlotte, because Lonzo bounced back from his shoulder injury. Had missed, six, 7 games. And he looked really good. I was checking it out back and forth with the football game on, and he looked good. And he looked engaged more than he had been recently. And again, maybe it's because he doesn't like the coach. But as you all know, you can't just not like the coach and give up and unplug and disengage on various nights where you don't even look like you want to play. That's the father's fault. You have to overcome it. You have to be your own man and make your own way in the world. And I'm not sure any of these 3 kids are. So the kid I'm rooting for the most is the oldest kid because he's a really good kid. And I'm not saying the other kids aren't. I don't know anything about him. I've just been around Lonzo enough to tell you he does not deserve this. He plays the right way to a fault. And now he's going to have a long next 4 months. Whew. Way to go, LAVAR. I don't know. LAVAR got what he wanted because the brand is going to have legs to it because kids everywhere are just on fire they love Lonzo. Everywhere I go, I see kids love Lonzo. Now they're loving LaMelo. I guess they're loving LiAngelo. It has mystique to it. I haven't even watched the game. I just see on TV that they lost at the Hawks tonight. So they've lost 9 straight games. So I don't even know anything about that. But I can't wait to dive into this, to debate it tomorrow with my man Shannon Sharp. It's going to be a hot and heavy Undisputed tomorrow. Again, it's 9:30 to noon Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1. It's called Undisputed, and I am the undisputed champion of Undisputed, and I will be undefeated again tomorrow on Undisputed. You can mark it down. You can tell Shannon, all you Shannonites out there, I'm coming for him again, though I don't even have to really break a sweat, but that's what I do. So I will be ready. I'm going to prepare the rest of the night. I've done nothing but watch football all weekend. I did watch that little kid at the University of Oklahoma, the school I root for in football. I used to go to a lot of basketball games when I was in high school at the University of Oklahoma. That little Trey Young kid he was something, but he got it handed to him yesterday. He wound up with 29 because he had 20 in the second half at West Virginia. But man, Javon Carter, who's NBA quality body, and he looks like he's like 34 years old and says he's 22. I don't know, but he plays Bob Huggins in your face, break your nose kind of defense, and he was all over the little kid yesterday, and he's a little willowy at 6'2". He's not Steph Curry, but he's Steph-like. So we'll be talking about him. We got it all tomorrow. Lots of football, some basketball. Don't get me started on Draymond saying the refs are ruining the NBA. No, Draymond, you are ruining the NBA. You and your team are ruining it because you protest every call as if you're supposed to get every call. Something's got to come down here from the commissioner. This has to be stopped because it's completely out of control. I'm getting out of control. I got to calm down. I got to lock back in. I got to do my homework for tomorrow. I will be ready at 9:30 Eastern on Fox Sports 1. Undisputed. I'll see you tomorrow on television. Thank you for watching on Facebook Live. Good night.